So a recent NASA study showed that the planet's average surface temperature has actually risen about 1.62 degrees Fahrenheit since the late 19th century. And most of that has actually come in the past 35 years. And so today I want to help make everyone a little more aware of climate change. And so that really starts by thinking about how we can build a better future for the upcoming generations. Through researching scholarly articles and some past classes that I've taken, I've compiled plenty of information about what it's really going to take to combat it. And so the main points that I'd like to focus on are the statistics showing how the climate is changing, what we can do in the future, and the obstacles of what it's going to take to try and combat it. So in recent years, climate change has become more relevant as we see our world changing constantly. And whether it's the reefs dying or even glaciers in Antarctica melting at alarming rates, a NASA study recently showed that oceans absorb most of this heat, with the top 700 meters of the ocean raising about a half degree since 1969. And so this warming is really the main cause of the reefs dying, and specifically, as most of you know, the Great Barrier Reef. And so the National Geographic recently reported that the reefs are dying from an effect called bleaching, which a lot of you may have heard about. And that's when the reefs start to begin losing color as a result of these higher water temperatures. And so as I mentioned, not only is it the reefs dying, but it's also these glaciers that have begun to melt all across the Antarctic Peninsula, which eventually is going to lead to these ocean levels rising to the point where people that have homes on the shorefront could lose their houses. And so another NASA study showed that 46 gigatons of ice from the Alaskan glaciers were lost on average each year from 2003 to 2010. And to put that into perspective, 1 gigaton is equal to 1 billion metric tons. And so these two are just examples of the start of a list of the issues. The common thoughts by past generations is that the Earth will start to adapt and start to fix itself as we continue to change. And 97% of climate scientists agree that the climate warming trends are mostly caused by humans and what we do every day. And so this helps show that if we were the ones that caused this issue, that we should really be the ones to try and fix it. And so there are two major factors that really the world could do to help stop the climate change, and it's really our personal lifestyle choices and how businesses operate. And so our own choices really can be as simple as not running the water when you're brushing your teeth, or even just carpooling or riding your bike to school or to work each day. And that would help limit some of these greenhouse gas emissions. And as far as businesses go, there's some opportunities for them to help try and do their part as well. And so a couple that come to mind could be potentially swapping out some of these diesel delivery trucks and trying to refit them with some electrical systems, or also removing coal from a lot of these big factories and trying to use solar power or hydropower like the Hoover Dam. And so both of these alternatives are also renewable, and so they're not just cleaner, but they're also more affordable for these companies. And some of these are just the ideas that come to mind when you're thinking about how we can try and have an impact in a greener mindset. And so next, I want to focus on some of the potential obstacles that we could face while trying to put these into motion. And so the natural turnover rate has been researched heavily in recent years to see how big of an impact humans really have on the environment and what kind of impact we're causing. And so the results showed that the environment is deteriorating so fast, and that's because the majority of these changes have come in the last 40 years. So the main increase really has been in the greenhouse gas emissions, and a study showed that 20% of the CO2 that we emit today will still be around in the atmosphere in over 1,000 years. And so another obstacle is the cost to benefit ratio of making these changes. And so what I mean by that is obviously there's not a perfect blueprint set out with 1, 2, 3 steps of what we can do to try and fix it. And so really it's going to come down to a lot of trial and error on these parts. And so this also means that we can't necessarily just throw all our money and resources in on one potential solution, because we don't necessarily know how it's going to pan out. And so we also can't necessarily monetize the amount of money because we don't necessarily know how much money it's going to take to fix each issue. And so while these obstacles may seem daunting, the outlook on fixing climate change looks bright. More and more activists are coming forth each day with new findings, and along with the fact that plenty of new scientists from this generation are way more motivated than ever to begin to alter the climate change in a positive direction. and that's with the idea of a brighter future. And so in the end, all I ask is that you don't leave today thinking that the climate change is the next generation's problem, because it's not, it's ours.